Welcome to another one-on-one program. Our very special guest is Cropover Ambassador, social media influencer, and co-founder of the Barbados magazine, and also the newest chair of LGBTQ plus group Equals Barbados, Luke Lascaris. Luke, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
My first question, and I'm sure a lot of people are asking this, why was it so important for you to take up the post as chair of the group Equals Barbados?
I chose to join Equals because I wanted to serve my community. That's fundamentally it. I thought it was important to be able to give back to my community in that type of way, to be able to offer my services with regards to influencing, with regards to advocacy, and just I wanted to help uplift my community too as well. And so I decided to throw my hat in the ring as chair.
For those who don't know, what is Equals Barbados?
Equals is a rights-based organization. It is a non-profit organization, non-governmental organization, and it works with advocacy with regards to health services, with regard to mental health services. It looks at providing a safe space, and it looks to be able to shape not just culture of Barbados, but the laws of Barbados too as well, to the benefit of the LGBTQ plus community, but also the wider human rights community.
You mentioned you giving back to the wider Barbadian community. How has the LGBTQ plus community given to you growing up?
I think it was important to have safe spaces as a queer person, to be able to sit down, sometimes in a queer bar, sometimes with your community, to just be able to relax and let your hair down, be able to talk, be able to commiserate over experiences, to look back at the ways that you've been discriminated against and maybe find shared community in that, shared people who have quite similar experiences to you, and lighten the load in that way. I think community is important, and being able to be with my community, whether it's that they came through with regards to jobs, whether they came through with regards to opportunities, whether they came through with regards to support, whether that was physical support, whether that was emotional support, whether that was psychological, digital support. My community has given back in so many immeasurable ways that it would have been remiss of me not to be able to come and give back to my own community.
You've mentioned being discriminated against. Was that for you personally, and how have you overcome such challenges within a Barbadian setting?
Yeah, discrimination has been personal. I mean, I'm also acutely aware of my privilege. I'm a tall, dark-skinned black man. I'm aware that I can be imposing to some people, but then being perceived as queer, and I think many men across Barbados have faced this, whether they've been queer or not. Discrimination can be dehumanizing. It can be a slap in the face sometimes, whether this is racial discrimination or discrimination because you are perceived to be queer. It could be, it takes away from a person. It could be a lot sometimes mentally to overcome. Sometimes it could be microaggressions. Sometimes it could be overt. People screaming at you in the street and threatening to kill you. People threatening you online. It could take away a lot as a person, and so it's important to be able to have the space to navigate that, the community to navigate that, to be able to have people around you that can support you in that.
You've had some wins recently with this particular administration. How are you feeling regarding policy direction and suggestion by the Miamonte administration thus far?
So far, we've been hopeful. There have been some wins. Equals has done a lot of work in the background, working with regards to the Ministry of Labor, with regards to the Employment Act and the removal of discrimination where people can't be fired just for being queer. And there have been some wins as well with regards to the buggery law and the striking down of that buggery law and the gross indecency laws, and laws that often stigmatize queer people. And so we are hopeful with the Mahdi administration that they stick to the rule of law. They've been working with us so far in terms of that, but it also has been a lot of community-led, community-driven organization that has led to these changes. The Mahdi administration has remained true to following the rule of law, and we applaud them for that, but we also encourage them to go a lot further. There's a lot more that can be done with regards to support for the community. And often we also want to point out that it's not just support for the LGBTQ plus community, it's broader human rights support that in the end ends up benefiting everyone.
There have been tremendous changes in terms of those who have been perceived to be from the LGBTQ plus community. Now persons can be a lot more open in who they are. What would you credit to some of those changes between 2010 and 2024 Barbados in terms of persons being more open to expressing their sexuality and who they truly are?
I credit that to increasing globalization, a younger demographic, becoming more aware. And there's that phrase from Austin Clark, I believe, growing up stupid under the Union Jack.
Yes.
And we've moved away from that. The younger generation has definitely moved away from that, and they've started to become, I've seen a phrase online, stronger under the trident. So a lot of those old ideas, a lot of colonial handed down ideas around those conservative ideologies we just don't, the younger generation just doesn't identify with them. And so we've started to move towards a lot broader thinking, a lot more progressive thinking. There's still a lot of work to be done. I think those ideas haven't been weeded out completely. But globalization and the internet has led to new thought. Even apps such as TikTok led people to new ways of thinking, led to new conversations. Even on Twitter, I've had conversations with people, and then they, by came to understand that this is a queer person and they're not the boogeyman that I've been thought to what queer people would be like. They
Right.
attack me, they come after me, they look at me, and it's like, this is a regular person just like me. And they experience the same challenges as I do. They think along the same lines. They're not that different from me. So that the internet space has created that arena for people to understand queer people.
So Luke, you have a solid presence on X, formerly known as Twitter, and a lot of youth look up to you, Gen Zs, millennials. Why do you think there's this respect given to you from the truth coming from some of your tweets?
Because I think people identify a lot with me, much like I would have said before. In coming into the space, it was incredibly toxic. When I first came on, people were like, nah. And especially to people who, at that time, I didn't see myself as being visibly queer or openly queer or as openly queer as I am now. And so it was tough to navigate. But then once I was able to establish myself within that sphere, and then you ended up becoming a thought leader. You say, okay, we think this about this. Like, these are my thoughts on reparations. These are my thoughts on health. These are my thoughts on economics. These are my thoughts on politics. And people turn to you because it's like, he's making sense. I identify with what he's saying, both Gen Z and millennials. I get it. He's rational. He's reasonable. He's also allowed to be human. So not every thought is going to be correct, or not every thought I'm going to agree with, but I can appreciate his stance. So I think that's what allowed people to connect with me. And I think that was the most important thing, the connection aspect.
Was there a particular strategy going into building out your Twitter account? Or was it simple ranting? I'm just here for the toxicity.
That's it. You got me. I'm just here for the toxicity. That was like, for when my friend would say the bands, you're here for the laugh, the jokes, the playing, the fun, the traditional Sunday chaos. You're just here for it all. But then you'd start throwing out ideas, and you realize people would connect with them, and they'd start to form conversations. Like, you don't set out to be with a deliberate strategy of, hey, I'm this person, I'm Lukeism. You set yourself out in a particular type of way. It was just people were able to identify and say, okay, I like this thought. You're jokey one day, you're cussing out people another day, but then you're serious another. So people like the dynamism of it.
Amazing. And I'm sure it has worked perfectly for you as co-founder of Bazode as well. Tell us a bit about Bazode for those who may not know about the magazine.
Bazode is such a pet project of mine. I absolutely do love it. I started it, I believe, around 2014, 2013. I used to do a previous magazine, Muse Caribbean, with my co-founder, Lennon Chandler. And we do these breakout summer issues because I wanted to focus specifically on crop over. So we do these breakout issues, we reach out to the bands, we shoot costumes. But then Muse wasn't the ideal space for Bazode, for what Bazode would later become, looking at the cultural aspects, looking at crop over as a whole, and not just the type of one-dimensional aspect of the costumes. So we did a breakout magazine from that summer half publication that became Bazode. And then we started off looking at the culture, looking at crop over. We wanted to have it initially as a digital archive of what crop over is, and to be able to explain to younger people too as well what crop over is, what it represents, especially because you'd go online you search, you could find any kind of thing about Jamaica, any kind of thing about Trinidad, but there was no definitive archive for Barbados and crop over. So we wanted to create that niche digital space that people could look and say, okay, this is what crop over is. This is what it looks like. This is what is Barbadian culture. And not just people within the diaspora, but younger Barbadians could come online and say, okay, they've distilled it for me, they've explained, I understand it a lot better.
What does Bazode mean, for those who don't know?
It is to be lost. You know, we were really inspired by the Square One song. Okay. You know, with outside saying the iron got me so bad, to be lost. To be really lost in it, to be caught up in the moment. And that's how we saw our involvement in crop over. You could get so lost in it, you could get so caught up in the moment, you could get just taken away by the music, the vibe, the culture, the food. Yeah, and we wanted something that would also, the same way that Square One was, where it was a Barbadian band, it appealed to the entire Caribbean. We wanted a word that reflected that too as well. So having Iron Bazzi come out to Square One and them singing that song, it being pan-Caribbean and as well as the diaspora, we said, okay, even though this is a French word and Barbados was only colonized by the English and this is more a word associated with Trinidad, we're going to take this and use this and attempt to apply it in this same pan-Caribbean type way, so that even, yes, it's Barbadian culture, but if you're from Trinidad, you want to learn, you can pick it up. And then we would start to expand into, we went into Trinidad, we did Jamaica Carnival, and you want to do all the other carnivals across the Caribbean. People could understand Caribbean culture, carnival culture, festival culture with crop over, and you could all understand it under the same umbrella with Bazodi.
I love it. Absolutely love it. And I'm not the only one. But were you expecting this level of growth where Bazodi is concerned?
No, not at all, at all, at all. I think we've gone spectacularly far. We've done amazing work. I could only give credit to the team, and people have come on board and helped shape it. We started off with both Lennon and I, and then Shakira has joined on. We have Chantal, we have Ocean, we have Nasir. We've had a lot of people who've come to work with us across the years, and it has made it quite better. Like the growth has been phenomenal. The response to as well has been phenomenal. So we tapped into a segment, a Barbadian identity with the culture and the entertainment that hadn't been looked at before, and so that gave us a real boost.
Amazing. You're also a crop over ambassador.
Yes.
What does it mean to you to be recognized in such a capacity?
I was honored, to be quite honest, from the first year. I think that was like 2 years ago that they first approached me. I was honored to be chosen as a crop over ambassador. I've always worked with the NCF from as far back as the late Simone Codrington, God rest her soul, but with Ashley Dyer, with Paula Jackman, we've done fantastic work together, and Carol, the CEO, Carol Roberts-Reefer, has been an amazing support. Yeah, so I was honored when they reached out and said, we want you to be a crop over ambassador. They saw the work that I've done within the cultural sphere, and they reached out, and we formed a bond that was really quite fantastic.
You've mentioned Bazode magazine, you've mentioned the inclusion of NCF within your work as well. What was life like growing up for Luke Lascaris that has contributed to who he is today?
That's an incredible question. I think that growing up, I was allowed a lot of freedom, a lot of sense of expression, not being hemmed in too much. Like the parental guidelines, yes, there was strictness, yes, but I was still allowed to grow and evolve as a person without being forced to go down a specific path. I had a very loving family environment. I was very understanding, very communicative. Came from a big family. My mom's family is like 8 sisters. My father had 6 sisters, even though it was 6 of them, 5 sisters. Yeah, so it was, a environment that encouraged growth, that encouraged education, that encouraged being yourself, being unique, and blossoming into who you were meant to be. And that was it. Yeah, I had a lot of space growing up to just be and allow my personality to find itself. So like, for example, when I got older in my teens and stuff, I was not directed like some of my friends were, like, you must be doctor, lawyer, bank manager. I was allowed to, you choose what you want to be, and however it ends up is where it ends up for you.
You're also the son of the late George Stephen Lascaris. How has your father's influence contributed to your life and your success as well? He was a coach, a mentor, an educator. He did so many things and also had time as a family man. What does his legacy mean to you, and how has that contributed to the Lukeism of today?
Yeah, my father, he really did help shape my life. He was there all throughout my life. He gave of himself. He made sure that I was supported, that I was allowed to do what I wanted to do, that I was made sure that I was educated properly, that I went from common mayor then to university, and then whatever it is that I desired. And he instilled in me a sense of pride, the sense of community, the sense of giving back with regards to like his football tournament, the Barbados Cup, and he gave of himself for 35 years to that cup to make sure it flourished, to make sure that younger people in the community were able to go and play football and get opportunities that they would not have otherwise had. So that has really shaped me a lot. That has really guided me. His discipline, his determination, especially with regards to the football cup. And then also, too, as you mentioned, as a family man, to make sure you come back and you give back. He had great skill in football. He taught me to be able to harness and utilize your skills to not just benefit yourself and not be that selfish, but how can it benefit others? How can you teach others after you reach a certain point? How can you pass on the baton? How can you be a good mentor? So he instilled a lot.
Very, very important. And from the one-on-one team, definitely condolences to you and your entire family circle.
Thank you very much.
Do you feel as if you have big shoes to fill where your dad is concerned?
That is so accurate. Completely accurate. Yeah, there's some very, very, very big shoes to fill. Like, his Barbados Cup still needs to be run because they still need to give back to the community in that type of way. He had offshoot tournaments, like he had one in Sergeant's Village. And it's looking back at how not just can you build on the work that he's done and fill his shoes, but how can you also expand on it? And how can you form different links? How can you work with different football organizations? How can you help elevate not just football as a sport, but the entire sporting genre so that people understand fundamentally how sport can transform communities, how it can give back to people, how it can give people a different avenue that they would not have otherwise had.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of the role of football and the general theme of youth advancement, what is your faith like in terms of the youth of today and taking Barbados forward?
I have a lot of faith in the youth today. I mean, in the conversations that I would have had with them on Twitter, I understand where they're coming from, what challenges they face, what it is that they want to do. And I think oftentimes it's just simply that people don't talk to youth. People don't discuss what their fears are, what they're looking to achieve, what their hopes are, what their dreams are, just who they are. I think so many times people talk at you. You should do this. You should do that. This is what you need to do. This is where you need to go. And nobody really stops to talk to them and ask them, what do you want? What do you want to achieve? How do you feel? That is what is important. So I believe that should the youth of today be given the opportunity, that they will excel at it. And they will do what is best within their power to make sure and craft a better Barbados.
In taking a step back into your chair as Equals chairperson, what can you paint a picture of what Barbados looks like with complete equality where the LGBTQ plus community is concerned?
I would say it would be no fear. It would be true freedom and not just. I think that people need to understand in uplifting the LGBTQ plus community, it uplifts everybody. Think about it with regards to accessibility. When we look at the disabled community, there's CIBC in Wildy. There's a button on the side you press to get in the ATM, and that's for disabled people. But it makes it more accessible for others. When we do lowered sidewalks and ramps so that people could get on for wheelchair access, it makes it more accessible for everybody. It makes life easier for everybody.
Definitely.
So I think about LGBTQ plus rights in that way as it relates to human rights. And when we think about equality, we think about how everybody can benefit, how it makes the world more equitable for everybody. So it's yes, LGBTQ plus people today, it will be disabled people tomorrow, it will be other minority groups who stand to benefit, who stand a greater chance at having a wider society that's more accepting. So it's not just necessarily that LGBT people are looking to get married So like you just want to be able to be out in public. You want to be able to go shopping together.
Yeah.
You want to be able to go to the movie together. Just sit down and have a drink. It's sometimes even that men are just afraid to sit down with their friend and have a drink at a bar because somebody might think we're gay, you know? And it's like, it is, and it's just so, see these ideas that really cause our society to regress. It's just that you might want to have a partner, you live quietly at home with them like every other couple, and then that when they pass on, you can be enshrined in law that they're their partner, you were the successor of their estate, like you're recognized under law. I think it's just what equality looks like is that the same rights that straight people enjoy that they don't have to think about, LGBTQ plus people want that. You have the same rights and everybody enjoys the same rights across the board. Nobody's disadvantaged and the society is better for it.
What are your thoughts on the church working alongside the community for the betterment of humanity, Barbadian humanity generally?
I think it's long overdue. The church often paints the LGBTQ plus community as adversaries or some great evil to be overcome or defeated, but it doesn't need to be like that. So often LGBTQ plus people are just looking to survive, just looking for the day to day, just looking to get out their house, get on the van, go to a job. That's it. They're not looking to come and take over your children, to destroy your family, to destroy your institutions, to head your government, to smash your society. They just care about the day to day, and that's especially what we found at Equals. That's what we found within the broader community. There's no gay agenda. So then when the church likes to paint us as these adversaries, as something to be overcome, it's unfortunate because we miss a real opportunity to connect as people. And I think fundamentally, the church should also remember its own doctrine and remember the doctrine of Jesus when he said in the greatest commandment is to love your neighbor as yourself. And so if we could start from that as a base point, we will be a lot further along because we don't need to be enemies. We could work together to advance human rights, whether this is looking at poor people, whether this is looking at elderly people, whether this is feeding the homeless, whether this is treating towards the myriad of ills in society. We don't have to be adversaries on any of these topics, or we don't have to sling barbs at each other through the media. And I say the church doesn't have to attack us because we don't have any of these positions to attack with. So if we could reach a common understanding, a common goal, a shared space, a shared ground, I think that would be better for the advancement of society as a whole.
Do you feel as though Barbados has what it takes to be an example for justice and equality regarding the community within the Caribbean or even as a beacon for the world?
Yes, I believe that Barbados could be a shining city on a hill with regards to rights and justice and freedom and equality within the Caribbean, within the Western Hemisphere, within the global South. I think that we could lead the way, we could really be champions, and we've done it in so many different areas, in so many different ways. So why can't we lead it in this type of way? We've signed on to so many rights-based organizations, to international human rights courts. So we should be setting the trend. We shouldn't be waiting for somebody else to lead the way.
Yeah. In relooking at your response to the involvement of the church and that collaboration, that cross-collaboration along with the LGBTQ plus community, how would you say the church has influenced you as a person also growing up? You know, Barbados is pretty much a Christian society, Muslim to some degree as well. But were you impacted by the church in any way growing up? Have they contributed to your growth?
Yes, they have. I grew up in the church, really and truly. I grew up in St. Matthias, and so they were informative. They were deciding factor in my youth. My mother would send me to Sunday school every Sunday, so you know it really did shape your identity too as well, shape your knowledge base, shape another form of community for you. And it was family based too as well. My father came from in St. Matthias too, so it was instructional. The church was instructional, but then as you grew and you started to realize, it wasn't just even from the point of realizing that you're queer, you just started to realize that there was a lot of hypocrisy, there were a lot of differences in what I saw the world to be, what I saw the church to be, and what you wanted the world to be like, and in some ways in which the church would manage to restrict that type of progress, because it always felt as though the church was looking at this type of 1950s type Barbados. Said same growing up stupid under the Union Jack type Barbados, where it was like the headmaster, the church pastor, and the policemen who were heads of the community and who were strongholds in that right. The church always seemed to be looking back to that and not towards the future. And it just felt the older that you grew and the more questions you had, the church couldn't answer. So then I think that's why there's a lot of breakaway for a lot of young people from the church.
So many important points to take away from this, Luke. We're now going to take a break for the first half of 101, but join us in the second half for this very dynamic interview.
The challenge was offered, and you responded without delay. The Ministry of Environment and National Beautification's Parish Home Garden Competition has been extended to May 30th. Enter now for your chance to win parish prizes and the top prize of $5,000. For more information or to register, contact via WhatsApp 234-3252. The Parish Home Garden Competition. Let's keep Barbados clean and green.
Do you have a query, complaint, compliment, or just a simple suggestion relating to a government service? If you do, then the Citizen Services Contact Center, or CSCC, is here for you. What is it? As part of the government's commitment to providing citizen-centric governance, this initiative has been designed to make it more convenient for Barbadians to voice concerns, file complaints, and offer suggestions about government services, all from the comfort of their own homes. You can reach the Citizen Services Contact Center by telephone at 573-7373 or by email at messagegovt@barbados.gov.bb. You also have the choice to WhatsApp the center at 266-4242. The CSCC operates between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m., Monday to Saturday. Again, the CSCC contacts are 573-7373 for calls, message govt@barbados.gov.bb for emails, and 266-4242 for WhatsApp.
Barbadians, we invite you to get involved and play your part as we clean and green Barbados. Come into your community with media launches, bulk waste collection exercises, community engagement sessions, and giveaways. Get on board. Let's keep Barbados clean and green.
Beautiful, beautiful Barbados.
Welcome back to the One-on-One program. We are on set with a very special guest, Mr. Luke Lascaris, current chair of Equals Barbados and also Cropover ambassador. So Luke, we were talking about the intersection of faith and your role within the LGBTQ plus community, also identifying as someone from that particular grouping. How do you normally manage that intersection of faith and living your life the way you would want to live your life, or the way that you live your life?
I even though I grew up in the church and it was instructional in my growth and evolution as a human being, I think for a lot of queer people, at a certain point there comes a time where there is a real divide between what your faith is and your queerness and how to navigate that. And then the way that, especially when I was growing up, the church was superbly hostile to queer people. Obviously, you have a church gay who's in there, you know, singing and all that type of stuff. But to out and out gay people, it was incredibly hostile. And it would remain so that you would see random spasms in the media where they'd attack queer people. So as I got older, I grew apart from the church. And it was a real shame. I do like Christianity, I like the music, you know, you like the Bible, the Psalms, all that type of stuff. You like the exploration of spirituality and faith. But now I just see myself as more spiritual because it always felt like my Christianity was at odds with my queerness. That it was always paradoxical. They were always fighting. So, so I do see myself as more spiritual. Obviously, yes, there's still Bible tracts that I read. There's still faith, bits of Christianity that I identify with, but I lean more into my queerness and my identity. But I don't think that the two, it must be one or the other. I don't think that the two must remain divided at all times. I do believe that you can have queer Christians, and there have been, and people can explore their faith. There must be queer Muslims too as well. There must be queer Jews. You can explore your faith in whatever way that you choose to be. Once I think it doesn't invalidate the rights of others and it doesn't cause you to diminish yourself too as well.
Amazing. In looking back at your involvement with Cropover, how is Bazode looking to fill that void this year where Cropover related content is concerned?
We have a lot to do. I mean, I have a fantastic team, like I mentioned, Lennon, Shakira, Ocean, Chantal, Nasir. We have a lot of ground to cover. There's a lot of work to be done because it's not, you don't just want to cover the events. You don't just want to do these stories and the posts and working with Vida by a Square because we have a section. You also want to still remain true to Barbadiana. You want to remain true to looking at the culture itself. What is Cropover exploring? What's Pick of the Crop? What does it mean? How is Cropover a festival and not a carnival? Like, what is Kadooment? You know, what happens when it intersects with Emancipation Day? How does Cropover fall in the season of emancipation? Like, there's a lot of ground to cover, and obviously we've partnered with the NCF for Cropover Explorer. So then there's that aspect too as well.
From the time you started, Bazode was focused on being a Cropover Archives news source. Mm-hmm. Would you say you've shifted from what Bazode was supposed to be from inception?
Yeah, I say that we've moved, just expanded our scope a little bit. We started to look at other carnivals too as well. So we take a look every year at Trinidad Carnival. We've touched on Jamaica Carnival. We want to go back to it. But you want to start looking at Grenada Carnival. You want to start looking at different aspects in a type of Pan-Caribbean type scope. Mm-hmm. But we still want to remain fully focused on Barbados, on Cropover, on Barbadian culture. So like we focus on Cropover and what it means, and we focus on wider Barbadian culture with regards to the words and the terms. We look at traditional characters. We look at traditional organizations like that City Landship. And then even outside of that too, we started to realize that there was a gap in the market. Again, with the same way that we started, that you'd look online, there was limited or scattered or even misinformation online about Barbados, Barbadian culture and Cropover. Mm-hmm. You'd find the same thing with regards to, let's say, independence. Mm-hmm. You find the same things with regard now to, especially to the Republic. Mm-hmm. And what does the Republic mean? How does it translate for a new generation? How do we navigate it? What stage are we at? Mm-hmm. All that type of stuff. So that is what we envision the space for Bazode to be, being able to capture all of that, to house it all in one place and just be an informative source that younger people can turn towards, but not just younger people, the diaspora too as well.
Mm-hmm. For those looking in, where can they find the Bazode magazine?
So we have a website. We have bazodemag.com. We have at bazodemag at BAZODEEMAG. Mm-hmm. So that's on Instagram, that's on TikTok, that's on Twitter too as well, that's on Facebook. Mm-hmm. So we try to make sure that our content is as accessible as possible, mm-hmm. and that people can find it wherever we are. We even do have a podcast too as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we have a lot of different, a lot of digital media to be able to get the message out there, to be able to have those conversations, and not just that it's static, but we want to make sure, like with the podcast, that it's a lot more dynamic, that people can hear voices, like with regards to different musical artists, different band leaders, from the NCF when we bring them on, from different, let's say you've won Pick of the Crop, or you've won Junior Monarch, or you've won, we don't got Calypso Monarch anymore, but whatever, that we have those conversations with people and we're able then to house that information in one space that people could turn towards.
Since starting Bazode, do you feel more encouraged to pursue other business ventures? Because obviously you're a businessman. You're not only a Cropover ambassador or co-founder of Bazode only, but you're in the space of business and entrepreneurship at this stage, for sure.
Yes, I definitely do feel the pull. You know, you're always seeing a new venture that you could get into. So now I'm considering going into content creation and content capture. With regards to digital media, I used to be a photographer too as well. Yeah, so I want to turn back to photography and get back into that. I want to write, not a magazine, I want to write a book around specific characters within Barbados' history, that there are a lot of hidden figures within Barbados' history that we don't properly acknowledge, or that there's not just a one source that you can point towards to say, okay, I learned this in this book about this person. The information is there, but like we would have mentioned before, it's in such a large, unmanageable chunk that to sift through it. Most people are not going to. But yeah, I'd say that I have different ventures on the horizon that I'm looking forward to.
How would you say being involved in Bazode has transformed your life personally?
How has it not transformed my life, you know? So it's been not just the utilization of the digital sphere, like X, as we would have mentioned earlier, formerly Twitter, and being able to navigate that space. But for a long time, people didn't even know that I was involved in Bazode. But using that to be able to create a platform, to be able to reach out to different people, to have different people reach out to you too as well. We did some work with Jason Jeffers on a documentary that he's doing. We did some work with Alec Drayton with another documentary that we were doing around sucrose and around sugarcane and sugarcane harvest. There are different aspects and there are different people that you get a chance to meet. One day, Ilambe Motley called me and we had a conversation around a magazine that I did before, Unapologetically Bajan, and the work that we did with that and how we could create something new, how we could work alongside the Ministry of Education. It has transformed my life immensely, and I'm forever grateful to the people who have worked alongside me. I'm forever grateful to the opportunities that have occurred because of it. I'm forever grateful to the work that we can do, we have done, and we will do.
A lot of persons pouring into your life, and that's so important as a young person coming up, as a young leader, as a businessman making his moves within this entrepreneurial landscape. What are some of the hardest lessons that you've had to learn since navigating this space as a digital influencer, as a crop over ambassador, and also as co-founder of Bazode as well?
One lesson that I've had to learn for sure is that if you look towards validation from outside sources as a means to fuel yourself, it opens you up. So it's a double-edged sword. You look into the validation, yes, you're feeling good with people telling you, oh my gosh, how good you are, how good this work is. It makes you vulnerable then to the criticism. So the criticism hits even harder. So then you could really take it on when people are like, this is trash. Like, you'd see all the commendations coming down in the comments. And what would stand out to you? That one comment saying this is garbage. Or this, oh, you're not making any sense. You know? And because you've bought into the validation so much, the criticism then hits you like a big rock. So what I've learned is that you need to be focused on what it is that you're doing. You have to have a strong sense of self and a strong sense of purpose, a strong sense of direction and where it is that you're going. Because other than that, this, especially the digital sphere, will chew you up and spit you out. Even you see it again, I've seen it with Bazode, I've seen it as an influencer, in a myriad of things. Like, you can easily be chewed up and spit out. So you must be very firm in your decisions, in what it is that you're doing, in the direction you're going. And understand that it's also okay to make mistakes, and that mistakes will happen because the error is human. So those are really the key points. But once you know what you're doing good work, you're doing good positive work, that is what you need to focus on, and not, yes, it's good to have people cheering you on, and it feels good, but you must seek validation internally then to be able to keep that clock ticking all the time.
You mentioned the importance of having a purpose-filled life and not seeking external validation. Would you say you're living your purpose at this current moment?
I definitely say that. I'd absolutely say that. Being able to give back, not just to my community with regards to the LGBTQ plus community, not even in working with regards to the LGBTQ plus coalition, which is another group that I've joined on and I've worked with, focusing around constitutional reform, not even giving back and working with the Constitutional Reform Commission and the Better BIM town halls I host on Twitter with my partner and my co-host Corey Sandyford. But it's just like being able to give back to Barbadian culture and to be able to create that type of repository where you could have dedicated channels with relation to Barbadian culture, with relation to entertainment, with relation to Barbadian news, to just good things about Barbados, and being able to house that on the digital space for young people. I think that gives me a lot of purpose. Being able to give back to, in a sense of mentoring and fostering and creating spaces for young people. We took on an intern, Nasir Jackson Yard. Ocean Campbell has come on to work with me, and being able to show young people the ropes in those types of ways, being able to have a space for them and help show them the entrepreneurial types of steps to take. And this is what it's like. This is the challenges that we'll face. This is the places that we have to go. These are the people that we have to speak to. I think all of that gives me purpose.
Amazing. So good to hear that you're also taking some of the talented young people within our society under your wing. You're not pouring back in a concentrated format, but you're allowing your purpose to disperse through the lives of a number of youth as well, where Bazode is concerned, and then generally your work within the LGBTQ plus community as well. This June, we're celebrating Pride Month, and help me with the theme.
The theme
and
is
the importance
resilience, rambunctiousness, and radiance. And the importance of
those three pillars.
The importance of those three pillars is that with resilience, we've, as a community, not just as a people or not just as an organization, we're equals, we've come a long way. We've had to fight back we've lost a lot after the AIDS crisis. Our community has become shattered. A lot of people have died. We've lost that sense of community. We're now attempting to find our way back to where we were pre-1980. So we've been resilient in that type of way, and that we've reformed and we've reshaped and we've looking to seal up some of those old wounds and acknowledge those who've gone before us and acknowledge where we're at now and acknowledge where we're looking to go. But resilient in that we still finding a way forward, like we making a way out of no way. And the rambunctiousness in the playfulness of the community, in how we still manage to live, how we still manage to embody joy, how we still manage to celebrate ourselves, how we still manage to carve out niches for ourselves and have space to play and just be. And in our radiance, in the way that we, despite everything that we've been through, we still shine through. Like we still look our way forward. We still cling to our creativity. We still look at our charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. We still hold fast to that, and we still shine despite all the challenges, despite all the rainy days that we faced, despite all the storms that we've navigated through. We still manage to shine.
So you've mentioned the collective indomitable spirit within the LGBTQ plus community. In May, for example, we've celebrated World Mental Health Awareness Month, and now in June there's a Pride Month for those within the community. Where were you able to reach within yourself to bounce back from a lot of the challenges that you've faced?
You really have to dig deep, you know. As a queer person, I think every queer person learns at some point. You have to dig deep. You have to know to rely on yourself, but also too, you have to rely on your wider community. You have to rely on your people, whether this is your own little group, whether this is the community as a whole, whether this is certain points that you could go to for support, whether this is even allies that you may have. Like you have to really focus on yourself and dig deep for that, not just internal fortitude, but that mental fortitude, but know that there is no problem in asking for help, in turning towards people who you know can help you, to say, I'm having a bad day. I need to talk to somebody. I need to go to a place where I could just relax. I need to develop mental health strategies to help me just navigate the everyday life and the challenges that you might face.
One of the mental health strategies that can be employed is also engaging in terms of that rambunctious spirit, making time for partying. Partying, you know, you're releasing those feel-good endorphins. This crop over, we're celebrating 50 years. Any special events that we can look forward to where Bazode is concerned? Any special bits of content? Anything in the bag that you can let out for our audience right now?
I'd say stay tuned to the Crop Over Explorer episodes that we do on Instagram. We're probably going to push them over onto YouTube too as well. It gave a proper look back and a proper context of Barbados, and not just Barbados, but Crop Over, the history of the festival, where it is that we are now, where we've come from, and to acknowledge so many who came before us, who've gone on, who helped shape the festival to what it is today, who helped just guide Crop Over forward. But we will be at multiple different events. We tried touching, doing the entertainment sphere and doing the event, but no, we just leave it for now. But for the 50th year, we are very excited again to work with the NCF, to be able to capture the festival too again, to be able to look at the different aspects, and also to be in on the road for Kadooman with Vida by Esquire.
What's your vision for Basel Day currently? Anything that you can share?
I like where we are now, but obviously only dead things remain stagnant. So you always want to keep going forward. We want to have a bigger footprint for Trinidad Carnival. Obviously, Barbados and Cropover and Barbadian culture, because we now see it with independence and independence celebration, and then what might possibly be Republic celebrations. We want that to be the apex of the Basel Day calendar. But we want to have a greater footprint within Carnival, Trinidad Carnival, specifically Carnival culture. And looking at that, taking the podcast down there, having more of a presence within that market, and then expanding across to Jamaica, expanding across to Grenada, expanding across to even St. Lucia and St. Vincent as well. There's so many different facets of the Carnival community, of the Carnival sphere within the Caribbean that we've not yet even touched on. Like some very traditional carnivals like Dominica, just the entire Caribbean. Even if you want to go down to Mashrami in Guyana, or you want to do Guyana Carnival, yes, like whatever have you. There's so many aspects we need to explore. So that is our way forward, like constantly charting upwards to being able to touch, even if it is just once a year, that you touch something different. You give your followers something, a different type of feel, a different understanding of Carnival, and help distill it in the same way that we've distilled Barbadian culture.
Where the orange economy is concerned,
Yes.
where did your interest start in terms of getting involved in the orange economy and ensuring that it continues to turn and making your contribution?
I think that would probably have been around the time of Basel Day. So like obviously, you know, we would have done Muse Caribbean before,
Yes.
and then we came with Basel Day, and then in the expansion of it into the entertainment sphere, because you're not just working with the bands, now you're looking at the whole Cropover sphere, and you get to have a greater understanding of what it means with regard to what promoters face, what the NCF is doing, what the government is doing, and how these different sectors interplay, and how so many different people are involved in Cropover. It's our largest national festival.
Yes.
I think that even with regards to the amount of money that it brings in, the amount of revenue that it generates, and so unlike most other services like the city tourism economy, we don't have to look into drive for an exchange. This is a lot of wealth that is generated internally, and I believe that we once previously in the past, with regards to Better BIM, we saw an IDB survey. We saw that survey around Barbados and Cropover and how it rakes in, what, 70, 90 million a year? And that was years ago. That's probably 2010 to 2007. So imagine how much it pulls in now, not just from outside, but within our own internal economy, how much it drives change, how much it drives jobs, how much it drives employment, how much it drives that a lot of people can get involved. Entrepreneurs too can become involved too as well. And how people get fed from Cropover. And so it isn't that we could just look at it as, oh, it's just jump up, walk up, dance and go down the road, and then that's it. It plays a key part, a key economic pillar within the entire economy of Barbados. And
Exactly.
it is, as the orange economy, is not something to be shrugged at, and it's something that I believe the government should be leaning more towards.
Do you think more can be done, though, to harness the talents of youth where the Cropover Festival is concerned, and even beyond that, maybe even outside of the realms of Cropover? And if so, what more do you see needs to be done?
I believe that the NCF has done a lot. I will give them full credit. I believe also too that they're severely understaffed. And so then also with regard to that, government can't do it all. So in as much as we look toward government to set the policy, I believe that sometimes entrepreneurs must also go and carve their own path and chart their own paths and learn, okay, I can see this gap in the market. How can I fill it? Do I require funding? How can I access it? So I believe it takes two hands to clap. So like you require government to make funding easy and as accessible as possible, so younger entrepreneurs can become involved, more involved in the orange economy as a key economic driver, and to make sure that they are funded as well, that they have access to the markets that they require access to, that they have the instruction that's made available to them. I think that there is a wide gap for younger entrepreneurs to become involved in festival. Let's say merchandise, for example. Let's say they want to go down to Bridgetown Market. Let's say they want to offer more crop over services. How can we create a space for them to be able to advertise their services to people who are coming in from overseas, are coming in for the diaspora, or somebody who just says, you know, as a Bajan, I want to try crop over for the first time. Where do I do to get my brows done, my lashes done, my toes done? I want gems on my face. I want a specific type of crop over makeup, all that type of stuff. So I believe that there's lots and lots of space. Where do I go if I want a truck to rent for an event? Where do I want to go to rent certain event supplies? I want staging, I want decking, I want bars, I want bar keeps, I want bar countertops, like all that type of stuff. There's lots and lots of space for entrepreneurs. I think there are wider gaps that entrepreneurs will eventually come to fill. And I think the key point to understanding that is that everything can't be done by government, and entrepreneurs must be very keen to be on the lookout. And not just government and entrepreneurs, but also to aspects of the private sector, like with regards to banking. Banks are notoriously risk averse, so you must be able to give a chance to a young entrepreneur. It's not just crop over loans to jump up in effect, but how can I give a crop over loan to support a young business to say, okay, you know what? You believe that you can make X amount of crop over, you'll be able to repay this loan. That's fine. You take this loan and go. We'll be able to invest in you. You'll be able to give us back our money, and you invest in wider Barbados too as well.
What are some of your proudest moments since being involved as a crop over ambassador? I know it's only been 2 years.
Yeah.
And starting Bazode, almost 10 years.
Yeah, almost 10 years. Imagine that, right? I mean, there have been a number. I've thought of a number of things that I've done. I definitely, one of the highlights was being able to work with the government, being able to work with the NCF as an ambassador. And then the additional highlight to that would have been being able to bring along Bazode so that they could recognize it. They could say, yes, we could see you have this as a resource. How can we work together? How can we bring you on board to be able to tell the story of 50 years of crop over? How can we be able to utilize you? Because again, NCF can't do everything. They're severely understaffed, you know, so like, how can we both work in tandem together? There have been a number of very proud moments, just being able to work with the bands across the season, being invited by Vida by a Square to be a section leader, be it just operating within that sphere, having events come to you and say, okay, I need help. And then you can say, okay, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. This is where you need to go. This is what you need to look at. Whether it was other influencers saying, I want to start a magazine, or I need assistance with digitals, or even as simple as interns approach you to say, I want to work with you, and realizing I've actually come that far that I can be able now to extend a hand down so that somebody could work alongside me, or they could say, okay, I can see value in what you've done. How can we collaborate and work together? So there have been a number of proud moments across the years. I definitely working with government, definitely working with NCF, I would say would have been one of the peak moments. But then you look forward to doing more work together. I think also too what I missed was with regards to Trinidad Carnival too as well, being able to have bands reach out and say, we want you to work with us. You covered our band launch. You've done this stuff with us together. We want you to cover us on the road, and having that type of easy access to understand that you could get a Barbadian brand down to these spaces and have them operate with the same type of leeway that you operate in Barbados, and showcase that it can be done for other younger entrepreneurs.
That's amazing, Luke. Not only following your passion, but finding a way to fill a void regarding your passion, and also reaching back to young entrepreneurs. We've discussed a lot in this one-on-one program with new chair of Equals Barbados, Mr. Luke Lascaris, co-founder of Bazode magazine, and also the 2023 as well, Crop Over ambassador. Thank you so much for joining us, Luke, and all the best in your very many endeavors.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. You can look out for this interview on the Public Affairs Department of Barbados, coming to a screen near you on CBC Barbados.